The bustling streets of New Delhi were normally full of life, but on this day, a hush fell over the city as shocking news spread like wildfire. Whispers turned to shouts as citizens huddled around televisions and holograms, their faces etched with a mix of disbelief and outrage. At the center of the commotion was a young woman, Priya Sharma, whose harrowing account had ignited a global firestorm. Priya, a former employee of the Galactic Council, had risked everything to expose the organization's darkest secrets, the systematic abduction and exploitation of children from across the galaxy. They took them in the dead of night, snatching them from their beds without a trace, Priya recounted, her voice trembling. These innocent children were shipped off to hidden facilities, where they were subjected to horrific experiments and indoctrination. It was a living nightmare. Priya's testimony, accompanied by damning video evidence, sent shockwaves through the international community. Governments scrambled to convene emergency sessions as the United Nations Security Council was thrust into a state of unprecedented turmoil. "This is a violation of the most fundamental human rights," declared the U.S. President, her brow furrowed with a mix of anger and determination. "We will not stand idly by while these atrocities continue." Across the globe, people poured into the streets, their cries for justice echoing through the corridors of power. In London, Paris, and Tokyo, protesters held vigils, demanding immediate action against the Galactic Council. The outrage was palpable, fueled by a deep-seated sense of betrayal and a refusal to accept the unthinkable. "How could they do this to our children?" wept a mother in Berlin, clutching a framed photograph of her missing son. "We must bring them home, no matter the cost." As the world held its breath, the UN Security Council convened behind closed doors, their usually controlled deliberations now tinged with a sense of urgency and unease. Diplomats from Earth's most powerful nations traded accusations, each vying for a decisive course of action. "We cannot ignore this grave violation of universal human rights," argued the Chinese ambassador, her voice firm and unwavering. "The Galactic Council must be held accountable for their crimes, and the abducted children must be returned to their families immediately." However, the Russian representative, his face a mask of stoicism, raised a cautionary hand. "Any rash action against the Galactic Council could have devastating consequences. We must tread carefully, lest we risk escalating this conflict beyond our control." The debate raged on, as the fate of the abducted children hung in the balance, their frightened faces searing the minds of those tasked with finding a solution. The world watched with bated breath, wondering if the global community would finally find the courage to confront the Galactic Council's atrocities. The revelations about the Galactic Council's horrific abduction of children had ignited a firestorm of outrage across the globe. Protests and demonstrations erupted in every major city as people poured into the streets, united in their demand for immediate action. In the bustling city of New York, thousands gathered in front of the United Nations headquarters, their chants of "Bring them home" and "Justice for the children" echoing through the concrete canyons. Mothers clutched framed photographs of their missing sons and daughters, their eyes red from endless nights of tears and anguish. "We will not rest until every single child is returned to their families," declared a spokesperson for the protesters, her voice carrying over the roar of the crowd. "The Galactic Council will be held accountable for their crimes against humanity." Elsewhere, in the halls of power, world leaders grappled with the gravity of the situation, torn between the overwhelming public outcry for retribution and the need for cautious diplomacy. President Olivia Hayes of the United States paced the confines of the Oval Office, her brow furrowed in deep contemplation. "This is a delicate matter," she told her advisors. "We must approach the Galactic Council with a firm hand, but any rash action could have devastating consequences for the entire solar system." The UN Security Council convened in an emergency session, the tension palpable as delegates from around the world exchanged heated arguments. Some demanded immediate military intervention to rescue the abducted children, while others urged a more measured approach, fearing the potential for a catastrophic interstellar conflict. "We cannot afford to act impulsively," cautioned the Russian ambassador, his steely gaze sweeping the room. "The Galactic Council has a formidable military presence, and any confrontation could lead to unimaginable loss of life." However, the representative from France countered with unwavering determination. "Inaction is no longer an option. These children are counting on us to bring them home, no matter the cost. We must stand united and send a clear message to the Galactic Council. Their reign of terror ends now." As the debate raged on, covert operations were quietly launched by various nations, each attempting to rescue the captive children through clandestine means. But these efforts met with fierce resistance from the Galactic Council's well-trained security forces, who ruthlessly thwarted the attempts, leaving a trail of casualties in their wake. The public, growing increasingly frustrated with the diplomatic deadlock, began to lose faith in the ability of their leaders to deliver the justice they so desperately craved. Rallying cries for a unified, uncompromising response echoed through the streets as the demand for action reached a fever pitch. "We cannot rely on the politicians anymore," declared a young activist in London, her voice carrying over the din of the crowd. "It's time for the people to take matters into their own hands and show the Galactic Council the true power of humanity's vengeance." As the world held its breath, the fate of the abducted children remained shrouded in uncertainty, their cries for help seemingly lost in the cacophony of international politics and public outrage. The halls of the United Nations headquarters in New York were thick with tension as diplomats from around the world gathered for a pivotal meeting. The fate of the abducted children hung in the balance, and the international community was running out of time. After weeks of frantic negotiations, the hoped-for breakthrough with the Galactic Council had failed to materialize. The representatives from the alien organization remained steadfast in their refusal to acknowledge their crimes or release the captive children. "They claim the children are being cared for in their facilities," scoffed the U.S. ambassador, her voice dripping with disdain. "These are nothing more than gilded cages, and we will not accept their hollow assurances." Across the table, the Galactic Council's envoy, a towering figure with piercing eyes, met the accusation with an icy glare. "The children are in good hands, I can assure you. Their well-being is our top priority, and any attempt to interfere will be met with the full force of our military might." The thinly veiled threat hung in the air. As the other delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats, the prospect of a direct confrontation with the Galactic Council's formidable forces was a daunting one, and many were hesitant to take that risk. "We must exhaust every diplomatic avenue before resorting to more aggressive measures," urged the representative from India, his brow furrowed with concern. "The lives of these children are at stake, and we cannot afford to gamble with them." However, the British ambassador, her eyes blazing with righteous fury, slammed her fist on the table. "Diplomacy has clearly failed us. The Galactic Council has shown no remorse, no willingness to compromise. We must act now, before more innocent lives are lost." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, as the delegates traded accusations and counter-proposals, each jockeying for a position of power and influence. The United Nations Security Council, once a bastion of global cooperation, now found itself paralyzed, unable to reach a consensus on how to proceed. Outside the halls of power, the public's patience was wearing thin. Protests and demonstrations continued unabated, the cries for justice growing ever louder. Citizens from all walks of life demanded immediate action, their trust in their leaders rapidly eroding. "How much longer must we wait?" cried a young woman in Berlin, her face streaked with tears. "Our children are suffering, and the politicians are doing nothing." As the world watched in anguish, the Galactic Council began positioning its military assets, deploying advanced warships and combat drones to strategic locations within the solar system. The message was clear: they were prepared to defend their interests, even if it meant the outbreak of a full-scale interstellar conflict. The leaders of Earth's nations found themselves trapped in an impossible dilemma: to risk the lives of their citizens in a confrontation with the Galactic Council, or to concede defeat and accept the continued captivity of the abducted children. The future hung in the balance, as the world held its breath, waiting for a decision that could alter the course of human history forever. While the diplomats on Earth continued to argue over the appropriate course of action, a bold move was unfolding millions of miles away, in the dusty expanse of the Martian colonies. For years, the Martian settlers had chafed under the oppressive rule of the Galactic Council, their dreams of independence and self-governance ruthlessly crushed by the alien organization's iron grip. Now, with the revelation of the Council's abhorrent crimes against children, the simmering resentment had boiled over into open rebellion. In the shadows of Valles Marineris, a group of disgruntled colonists, led by a fiery young woman named Ava, hatched a daring plan. They would seize control of a Galactic Council outpost, free the captive children, and gain access to the advanced alien technology that had long been denied them. Under the cover of night, the Martian rebels launched their assault, their faces obscured by respirator masks and their movements swift and sure. The Galactic Council's security forces, caught off guard by the ferocity of the attack, fought back with all their might, but the colonists were driven by a burning desire for vengeance. For too long, we've been treated as nothing more than subjects to be exploited, Ava shouted, her voice crackling through the comm channels. No more. Today we take back our freedom and our children. As the battle raged, the Martian rebels gradually gained the upper hand, their intimate knowledge of the terrain giving them a critical advantage. Finally, after hours of intense fighting, the Galactic Council's forces were subdued, and the captive children were freed from their cells, their faces a mix of relief and fear. But the rebels' victory was just the beginning. By seizing control of the outpost, they had also gained access to a cache of advanced alien technology, including powerful energy weapons and sophisticated communication systems. This is just the start, Ava declared, her eyes gleaming with determination. We will use these tools to rally the rest of the solar system and show the Galactic Council that their reign of terror is over. News of the Martian uprising spread like wildfire, captivating the attention of the entire global community. Across Earth, people watched with bated breath, their hearts swelling with a sense of hope and solidarity. If the Martians can do it, so can we, whispered a young activist in London, her fingers tightening around a clenched fist. It's time to join the fight and take the battle to the Galactic Council. As the reverberations of the Martian rebellion echoed through the solar system, the leaders of Earth found themselves presented with a new and unexpected opportunity. With the Galactic Council's forces stretched thin, the time might finally be right to mount a coordinated assault and rescue the remaining abducted children. But the path forward was fraught with peril, and the stakes had never been higher. The fate of the solar system now hung in the balance, as humanity prepared to confront its greatest adversary head-on. The Martian uprising had sent shockwaves through the solar system, igniting a newfound sense of hope and determination within the global community. Emboldened by the colonists' daring exploits, the leaders of Earth's nations began to contemplate a more aggressive approach in their dealings with the Galactic Council. In the shadowy corridors of power, covert operations were hatched, as governments around the world secretly mobilized their resources to confront the alien organization's oppressive rule. Advanced weaponry and cutting-edge technologies were funneled into a unified military force, one that could stand toe-to-toe with the Galactic Council's formidable forces. We can no longer afford to wait and see, declared the U.S. President, her eyes gleaming with a steely determination. The time has come to take the fight to the Galactic Council and rescue our children, no matter the cost. Clandestine alliances were forged with other galactic civilizations, who had also suffered under the Galactic Council's tyrannical grip. These once disparate factions, united by a common cause, began to share intelligence, resources, and strategies, laying the groundwork for a coordinated assault. In the bustling streets of Tokyo, a delegation of alien diplomats met with their human counterparts, their features obscured by holographic disguises. The discussions were tense, but ultimately, a consensus emerged. The time had come to stand together and confront the Galactic Council's atrocities. "We have endured their oppression for far too long," growled a towering alien warrior, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. "Now we will show them the true price of their cruelty." Back on Earth, the public's enthusiasm for action had reached a fever pitch. Protesters continued to fill the streets, their chants of "Bring them home" echoing through the cities. Funding and resources poured in from private donors and grassroots organizations, bolstering the government's military preparations. "We will not rest until every single child is returned to their families," vowed a spokesperson for the Guardians of the Galaxy movement, her voice ringing with unwavering conviction. The Galactic Council's reign of terror ends today. As the world held its breath, the stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the solar system. The human-led coalition, empowered by the Martian rebels' triumph and the support of their newfound allies, began to position their forces, readying themselves for the final desperate push to rescue the abducted children and bring down the Galactic Council's oppressive regime. The fate of the solar system now hung in the balance, and the stakes had never been higher. The battle lines had been drawn, and the combatants on both sides knew that only one side could emerge victorious from the looming clash. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Across the solar system, the human-led coalition, bolstered by their newfound allies, launched a massive, coordinated offensive against the Galactic Council's strongholds. From the frozen plains of Europa to the scorching deserts of Titan, the battle raged on multiple fronts, a spectacular display of advanced technology and strategic maneuvering. Powerful energy weapons crackled through the void, while swarms of combat drones darted and weaved, engaging in ferocious aerial battles. At the heart of the conflict was a desperate struggle to rescue the abducted children, whose frightened faces were etched into the minds of the coalition's soldiers. They fought with a ferocity born of righteous fury, refusing to give an inch to the Galactic Council's well-trained and well-equipped forces. "For the children," cried a young lieutenant, her voice hoarse from the din of battle, as she led her squad in a daring assault on a fortified enemy outpost. "We will not rest until they are free." The Galactic Council, caught off guard by the scale and coordination of the attack, scrambled to respond, deploying their most advanced war machines and seasoned veterans to counter the onslaught. Fierce battles raged across multiple fronts, with neither side willing to concede even an inch of ground. In the darkened control room of a Galactic Council flagship, the organization's leaders huddled, their brows furrowed with a mix of fear and determination. They had never anticipated such a bold and unified challenge to their power, and the realization that their reign of terror might finally be coming to an end filled them with a sense of dread. "We must not falter," growled the Galactic Council's military commander, his eyes narrowing as he studied the tactical displays. "The children are the key to our future. We will destroy these upstart humans and their allies, no matter the cost." The battle raged on, with both sides employing every tactic and technology at their disposal. Explosions rocked the very fabric of space as starships engaged in deadly duels, their hulls crumbling under the relentless hail of fire. On the ground, the coalition's forces fought with a desperate tenacity, driven by the knowledge that the fate of the abducted children hung in the balance. They pushed forward, inch by agonizing inch, refusing to be cowed by the Galactic Council's superior firepower. As the hours turned to days, the conflict showed no signs of abating. The stakes had never been higher, and the combatants on both sides knew that only one side could emerge victorious from this final, climactic confrontation. The fate of the solar system, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on the outcome of this desperate struggle. The world held its breath, watching with bated anticipation as the battle for the children's future unfolded before their eyes. The battle for the solar system had been long, grueling, and devastating, but in the end, the human-led coalition emerged victorious. After days of relentless fighting, the Galactic Council's forces had finally been pushed to the brink of collapse, their once formidable military might shattered by the determination and resilience of their adversaries. In the aftermath of the conflict, the rescued children were finally reunited with their families, their harrowing experiences fueling a renewed sense of purpose and resilience within humanity. Tears of joy and relief mingled with the somber realization of the tremendous sacrifices that had been made to bring them home. "We thought we had lost you forever," whispered a mother in Paris as she held her daughter close, her voice trembling with emotion. "But you're here, you're safe, and that's all that matters." The victorious coalition wasted no time in consolidating their gains, determined to ensure that the Galactic Council's reign of terror would never again threaten the lives of innocent children. Across the solar system, the organization's power structure was systematically dismantled, their once unassailable strongholds reduced to rubble. "The Galactic Council's days of unchecked dominance are over," declared the U.S. President, her voice ringing with a newfound confidence. "We will build a new, just, and equitable interstellar community, one that puts the well-being of all sentient beings at the forefront." With the Galactic Council's grip on the solar system broken, the victorious alliance set their sights on reshaping the galactic landscape, guided by the principles of justice, equality, and the preservation of all life. Clandestine channels of communication were established with other civilizations who had long suffered under the Galactic Council's tyranny, forging a network of cooperation and mutual support. "We are no longer alone in this fight," remarked a Martian leader, his eyes gleaming with a sense of purpose. "Together, we will create a future where no child will have to endure the horrors that our own have faced." As the dust settled and the celebrations began, the people of Earth and their newfound allies took stock of the tremendous sacrifices that had been made. Memorials were erected to honor the fallen, their names etched into the collective memory of a solar system that had been forged in the fires of adversity. Yet, amid the sorrow and the grief, there was also a sense of hope and resilience. The children, once victims of unimaginable cruelty, now stood as symbols of the indomitable human spirit, a testament to the power of unity and the relentless pursuit of justice. The world, and perhaps the entire galaxy, had been forever changed by the events that had unfolded. And as the people looked to the future, they knew that the road ahead would be long and arduous, but their determination to build a brighter tomorrow had never been stronger. In the wake of the human-led coalition's decisive victory over the Galactic Council, the solar system and the broader galactic community found themselves in the midst of a profound transformation. The once unassailable power of the Galactic Council had been shattered, and in its place, a new order began to emerge, one guided by the principles of justice, equality, and the preservation of all life. Across the stars, the ripple effects of the conflict were felt, as civilizations that had long languished under the Galactic Council's oppressive rule now found themselves presented with newfound opportunities. Clandestine alliances that had been forged during the war blossomed into open partnerships, as the diverse cultures and species of the galaxy recognized the need for a more inclusive and collaborative approach to interstellar governance. "We are no longer isolated, forced to endure the whims of a tyrannical regime," remarked a Martian diplomat, her voice tinged with a sense of awe and wonder. "Now we stand shoulder to shoulder with our brothers and sisters from across the cosmos, united in our determination to build a better future for all." The human-led alliance, having emerged as a formidable force to be reckoned with, took the lead in shaping the new galactic order. Drawing upon the resources and knowledge gained during the war, they set out to rebuild and restructure the interstellar community, establishing a framework of mutual respect and cooperation that would safeguard the rights and well-being of all sentient beings. "We have seen the depths of cruelty that can exist in the galaxy," declared the U.S. President, her eyes shining with a newfound determination. "But we have also witnessed the power of unity, of compassion, and of an unwavering commitment to justice. That is the foundation upon which we will build this new era of peace and prosperity." As the months and years passed, the scars of the conflict began to heal, and a sense of cautious optimism began to take root. The rescued children, once victims of unimaginable horror, now stood as symbols of resilience and hope, their experiences fueling a renewed dedication to the protection of the innocent and the vulnerable. "We will never forget what we have endured," said a young Martian woman, her voice steady and resolute. "But we will not be defined by our past suffering. Instead, we will use it to forge a brighter future, one where every child can grow up in safety and security, freed from the threat of such atrocities." Throughout the solar system and beyond, the new interstellar alliance worked tirelessly to dismantle the remnants of the Galactic Council's power structure, while simultaneously investing in educational initiatives, cultural exchange programs, and technological collaborations that would foster a deeper understanding and appreciation between the diverse civilizations of the galaxy. "This is just the beginning," remarked a Martian leader, his gaze fixed on the stars that twinkled in the endless expanse of space. "The path ahead will not be an easy one, but with unity, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to justice, we will shape a future that our children can be proud of." As the sun rose on a new day, the people of the solar system and their newfound galactic allies looked towards the horizon, their eyes shining with a sense of purpose and determination. The battle may have been won, but the true test lay in the challenges that still lay ahead as they embarked on the monumental task of redefining the very fabric of interstellar society.